People-pleasing doesn't just wear you down, it slowly rewires how you think about yourself, your time, and your worth. And most people don't realize how much it's costing them until they're completely burned out. Over many years as a therapist and now as a therapeutic coach, I've seen how people-pleasing can quietly shape every part of your life. I've helped many clients overcome people-pleasing tendencies and done this work for myself so that we can live with less depletion and fewer of the painful consequences. In this video, we'll look at what the costs of long-term people-pleasing really are, the more visible ones, the more hidden ones, and how they add up over time, so you can start to recognize and change the patterns that are sucking the life out of you. Awareness is always the first step to breaking free from people-pleasing. So as we go through these costs together, see which ones resonate for you personally. The goal isn't judgment, it's understanding what's really going on beneath the surface, so you can begin to change it. If you recognize any of these costs in your life, please know it's not your fault. People-pleasing is not a flaw or a weakness. My third video in this series explores the root causes of people-pleasing, so review that one if you haven't yet. It's a reminder that you didn't choose to have these tendencies. They developed for understandable reasons. And when I say people-pleasing tendencies, I'm referring to the kinds of behavior that share a core dynamic, sidelining your own needs and wants for the sake of others. That might look like putting other people's needs ahead of your own over and over to the point that it starts to affect your well-being in real and lasting ways. Okay, cost number one. One of the most common costs of long-term people-pleasing I hear from clients, and that I've experienced myself, is losing touch with your own needs and wants. When you've put other people's needs, wants, preferences, and priorities ahead of your own for so long, it's easy to lose track of what you actually need or want. Even when you have a chance to think about it or someone asks you directly, it can feel like there's just nothing there. That's because the habit of sidelining your own needs becomes so automatic that it doesn't even feel like a choice anymore. You're on autopilot, going along, being useful, taking care of things, being responsible, and in the process, you stop noticing your own limits. Over time, serving, helping, performing, and achieving can start to feel like part of your identity. It's not that you don't have needs, it's that they've been buried under the surface for so long that you've stopped recognizing them. And when you're not aware of your needs, it's almost impossible to stop putting them aside. Even when you want to make your needs as important as everyone else's, you might not know what they are. There ends up being kind of a blank space inside with moments of uncertainty or absence of preference or delayed awareness of your own personal needs. For example, one day maybe you feel exhausted or irritable, but can't pinpoint why or what would help you to feel better. And someone asks what you need, maybe support, space, or reassurance, and you kind of freeze because you genuinely don't know what would help. You can't figure out if you need rest or connection or time alone or something else. So in essence, you can't stop people-pleasing if you don't know what your needs or wants actually are because you can't prioritize what you can't see. Before I go on, I want to remind you to download my free workbook, The People-Pleasing Primer. It will help you spot how your unhelpful people-pleasing patterns show up. And it's a great next step in recovering from people-pleasing. I'll link that in the description below. Cost number two of long-term people-pleasing: your overall well-being takes a hit. When we're not conscious of our own needs, we often don't realize how frequently we're sidelining them. The effects build quietly over time, and before long, you start to feel the weight of not having those needs met, emotionally, mentally, physically, and even spiritually. People-pleasing also costs you time, energy, and mental bandwidth. When you're constantly tending to other people's needs, it's only natural that you run out of time and energy for your own. And when that happens, there's little left for what truly matters to you. Activities that fill you up, time with the people who matter most to you, or simple downtime to regroup. Eventually, you're running on empty. And on top of that, the mental load of worrying about others' feelings, needs, and opinions consumes even more of your precious bandwidth. Energy that could be directed toward your own well-being, creativity, or peace of mind. Cost number three, low self-worth. People-pleasing can quietly chip away at your sense of self-worth. When you're constantly putting your own needs aside for others, it can start to send a message to yourself that your needs, and by extension you, don't really matter. Over time, that belief can take root, leading to a deep sense of low self-worth. And the tricky part is, it also works in reverse. When your self-worth is already low, you're more likely to people please even more to earn appreciation, validation, or a sense of belonging. Eventually, your worth starts to hinge on how others see you. That makes you even more sensitive to rejection, judgment, or disapproval, and more likely to double down on people pleasing to avoid it. Cost number 4, getting stuck in difficult emotions. People pleasing can leave you feeling worn out, drained, and depleted, but it doesn't stop there. It often brings a mix of emotions that are harder to admit: resentment, irritation, even anger, or a sense of being taken for granted, especially when your efforts aren't noticed or reciprocated. Underneath all of that, guilt is almost always running in the background. You might feel guilty when you say no, when you can't help out, when you set a boundary, or even when you just think about putting your own needs first. Over time, that constant tug of war between resentment on the one hand and guilt on the other can leave you feeling isolated, discouraged, or sad. Cost number 5, chronic stress and mental health problems. Constantly overcommitting and overextending yourself takes a toll, not just on your schedule, but on your nervous system. When you're continually meeting others' needs at the expense of your own, your body never fully shifts out of a state of alert. You might notice tension that doesn't go away, sleep that isn't restorative, or a constant low-level anxiety about what still needs to be done. With so little time or energy left to recharge, stress compounds, and you often stop doing the things that help you recover, like creativity, alone time, or true self-care, the small, consistent practices that keep you grounded, nourished, and emotionally steady in daily life. Over time, this chronic strain builds up. Research shows that people-pleasing tendencies are linked to higher levels of anxiety, depression, and other stress-related symptoms. Your body and mind begin sending signals that something is off: fatigue, irritability, headaches, racing thoughts, or feeling emotionally flat. They're all signs that the balance between giving and restoring has been lost. Cost number 6, negative impact on your relationships. When you constantly put your needs aside, others may struggle to trust that your yes is genuine and not driven by guilt or obligation. And when you're always adapting to what others expect, it becomes harder to build the kind of mutual, honest, deeply connected relationships you long for. In addition, sometimes people-pleasing involves helping when you haven't been asked or trying to manage other people's experiences. Even when it comes from care, this can be disempowering. It can send the message that others can't handle things on their own, and it robs them of their chance to grow and solve problems and trust in their own capabilities. Over time, this can shift how you see yourself in those relationships too, even if you're not aware of it at first. Cost number 7, and this can be kind of a hard one to hear, but people-pleasing can make you more vulnerable to manipulation. If your default is to give, help, or say yes, even when it's not in your best interest, others may take advantage of that pattern, sometimes knowingly, sometimes not. When it's hard to speak up or say no, other people's expectations can start to overshadow your own. Cost number 8, long-term people-pleasing can keep you in situations that aren't right for you. People-pleasing can make it feel extremely difficult to step away from relationships, jobs, or other commitments that no longer fit. You might stay in situations that drain or deplete you because leaving wouldn't feel like the nice thing to do, or it would hurt someone's feelings, or you don't want to disappoint people or let them down. And yet staying often comes at a real cost to your well-being. So these are just some of the ways people-pleasing can take a toll, emotionally, mentally, and even practically. As you can see, people-pleasing doesn't just shape how you relate to others, it touches nearly every part of your life. When you start to see how deeply these patterns run, it can feel heavy, but it's also clarifying. These patterns developed for understandable reasons, but over time they come with real costs and aren't really serving you anymore. You didn't choose them consciously, yet you're the one left carrying the weight of them. But now that you're beginning to understand what's been draining you, that awareness itself is the thing that makes change possible. Since this video goes over a bunch of the hard stuff that can result from long-term people-pleasing, I want to give you a helpful next step to focus on. This is a strategy to help address the first cost that I went over in this video, losing track of your own needs. Because once you start realizing just how disconnected you may be from your needs, the next question is often, okay, but how do I figure out what my needs are? Luckily, there are some models out there that speak to universal human needs, some lists and graphics that you can check out to help you put language to what you might be feeling but can't quite name. For example, there's something called a needs wheel, which is just a visual map of common human needs with overarching categories broken down further into subcategories. There's one version of a needs wheel I found to be pretty thorough called the Wheel of Universal Human Needs, and that's from the Center for School Transformation. This one centers around the core human need for vitality and breaks that down into categories: rest, empathy, community, safety, sustenance, work, honesty, autonomy, challenge, and transcendence. And then each of these is broken down into further needs. For example, the need for community is broken into the need for belonging and support, the need to matter and to be heard, the need for acknowledgement and appreciation, and the need for interdependence and cooperation. If you've had trouble identifying what you need in any given moment, tools like these can really help. Sometimes simply seeing a list or a graphic like this can spark recognition, like, oh, that's what's been missing. It helps you connect with yourself again and gives you language to what your body and emotions might have already been trying to tell you all along. I think of these as examples of needs that we all have as humans that help to keep us functioning and feeling whole and well. You can check out a few different models and find the one that you like best, and then circle or write down the needs that you identify with as those that keep you feeling whole and well. That could be a great first step in learning to identify your needs, especially those that aren't being met currently. For example, in looking at a needs wheel, maybe you see the need for support in the list, and you realize that that's a need of yours that has gone unmet recently. Once you're aware of that, you can start to seek it out and try to meet that need and even advocate for yourself to get that need met. It also helps to know that these are universal needs, so you're certainly not the only one who has it. That alone can be validating and affirming and make you feel okay about advocating for getting it met in your own life. It is okay to advocate for your need for rest, play, balance, adventure, self-expression, creativity, respect, understanding, just as much as it is for your need for water and food and air and shelter. You might be wondering where to find these other lists and wheels, and while I can't post the exact graphics on my video due to copyright, you saw a limited example of one of the needs wheels on the screen, and I'll give quick instructions on how to find a few different ones in the video description below. If you're noticing that the costs and consequences of long-term people-pleasing show up regularly in your day-to-day life, it might be a sign that it's time to get some support in changing them. That support could come in the form of more videos like this, books, podcasts, webinars, joining a group, or working with a coach or counselor who can help you make lasting change. The important thing is you don't have to do it alone. Awareness is the first and most powerful step toward change. The fact that you're here listening, reflecting, and willing to look at this honestly means something is already shifting. I take people step by step through changing these patterns in my one-on-one coaching program. So if you're interested in working with me, you can find more information in the description below. In my next video, we'll take a look at what freedom from people-pleasing can actually look like. But before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Please drop a comment about which of these costs feel most present in your life right now, or the ones you'd most like to see change. And if someone in your life might relate to this content, please share this video with them. Lastly, if you haven't already, please download my free workbook called the People Pleasing Primer. It's a great next step to deepen your awareness to help you start overcoming people-pleasing tendencies. I'll link this and everything I talk about in this video in the description below. Thanks so much for watching.